Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview I had last time with Dr. Baruch Corman. I thought he provided some interesting observations, particularly with regard to Gentiles equipping themselves to be able to share the gospel with Jews. So I pray that you took note of that and you doubled down on preparing yourself. And I think a good way to prepare yourself is to study the book of Hebrews. It's an important book and relevant for both Jews and Gentiles. So let's get into it. We're going to be in chapter 9 or 6 today. And last time I went over verses 9 through 20, kind of gave you the overview, the big picture of it. I want to drill down now. This is important, and I think it's worth our time to look at it a little bit more closely. So we're going to take each section by itself. Hebrews 9 or 6 verses 9 through 10. I've labeled these as the NASB editors have better things for you. I want to point out, well, let me just read it. It says, "But beloved, we are convinced of better things regarding you and things that accompany salvation, even though we are speaking in this way. For God is not unjust so as to forget your work and the love which you have shown toward his saints, toward his name, by having served and still serving the saints." So this is important. It turns a corner here. Notice how it starts out with "but." And even though we are speaking this way at the end of verse 9, he's kind of turning a corner from admonishing them, encouraging them for immaturity and its dangers. And he is comforting them, saying, "But I'm convinced of better things regarding you." Nice pastoral sort of approach here, warning them about ignorance, warning them about immaturity, but saying, look, I know you guys are not like that. And same with you and I. You're watching, you're spending time, you're going through the book of Hebrews with me. That shows that you are fighting immaturity. And I hope you took the encouragement from the admonition to press on in that. I'm convinced of better things concerning you, just as the writer of Hebrews was concerning his audience. In other words, they are not the kind of people who will not press on. They are the kind of people who will press on to maturity. And specifically, the author is convinced that they have done those things that accompany salvation. Well, what are those? I talked about them before. You could look at them right here in verse 10, ministry to the church. Specifically, ministry to God's people, all right? Still serving the saints. When we talk about the church, we talk about, oftentimes we have an institution in our mind, but what he's really talking about is serving people. So that's one of the signs that they are pushing on to maturity, is that they are serving God's people. Verse 11, he says that they're diligent in that service. Diligence. Want to demonstrate the same diligence so as to realize first full assurance of hope. So they're not only have ministry to the church, but they're diligent in what they're doing. And in verse 12, when I talk about Abraham later, imitators of those who through faith and endurance inherit the promises, they are noting and following great examples of faith. So three things there right in that context that the author's talking about that shows him that they have better things in their mind, pressing on to maturity. It goes on in verse 10, God is not unjust as to forget. So this is an important encouragement for us. Sometimes we feel like God's maybe forgotten about us, but God has taken note and will remember, he says. God will not forget your work and the love which you have shown toward his name. So God is not forgetting. He's writing down, we can say, in a book, and he's never going to forget what they've done, how they have served, and how they are still serving. And notice what he's taking note of. The love you have shown toward his name, in verse 12. So we show our love for Jesus, is what he's saying here, by serving his saints. The love you have shown his name by, or by means of, or through having served and still serving the saints. So if you love Jesus, you're going to serve his people. And if you are serving his people, I pray that you're doing that out of love for Jesus. That's something you can cultivate. That's something you can think about how you do that and whether you're doing that. It's important. Love is important in the body. It binds the body together, binds the local church together, binds families, of course. Distinctive characteristic. 1 John 3:11 says, "This is the message you have heard from the beginning, that we are to love one another." So that is the key, I think, foundational, let's say, apostolic message. This is the message we have heard from Jesus himself, that people will know that we are followers because of our love for one another. And that's what John is echoing here, and that's what the writer of Hebrews is saying, that the love you have shown to the saints is a reflection of the love you have for Christ. John 3:18, 1 John 3:18 says, "Little children, that's not love with word or with tongue, but in deed and in truth." In other words, real love is demonstrated in what we do for the saints, what we do for them. It's hard work. It's sometimes thankless work. Let's admit it. Sometimes people are not thankful for what you do for them. Maybe what you do is behind the scenes and you don't get a lot of, feedback from people, encouragement. But nevertheless, we're to cultivate love for the people of God. We need to be building them up, not tearing them down. And we need to be using our gifts and the abilities and the talents that we have in order to show that love. That's why the Lord's equipped us. So Hebrews here, chapter 6, verses 9 and 10, really important for us, kind of sets the foundation. And as we think about this and how do we apply this to ourselves, I think a couple things I can mention. One is every age group has something to offer the saints. If you're an older, what they call seasoned saint, you don't get out much, you can't get out much, you could be in prayer. Prayer is important. It's often neglected, and you could be praying for God's people. Particularly, I'd encourage you to pray for those people whose responsibilities and roles include preaching and teaching and leading the congregation. They are under particular stress and particular attack, and they could use your prayers. So if you're an older saint or can't get out very much or don't have a lot of resources to share, this is one way that you can serve the body. Another way besides prayer is, of course, service and financial help, words of encouragement. Go to church on Sundays. If that's the only time you go to church on Sundays with the intention of finding someone who you're going to encourage or finding someone who you can help. It doesn't necessarily need to be financial help, but if you make yourself available to God and go with that intention, I think God will ultimately bring people to you who you can help, who you can encourage. Perhaps they need some guidance and direction that you could provide them because of your own unique experiences in life, any number of things. Main thing, I think, is we need to make ourselves available. Make ourselves available to serve Jesus by serving his saints. And I think if you do that, brothers and sisters, you'll be full of opportunity. I'm not going to say it's going to be tireless. It might be thankless, but you're going to be rewarded in heaven. That's the main thing. You may have rewards here on earth, but they are really rewards, a token of the reward that you'll have for heaven. So be encouraged and pursue service to the saints out of love for the Lord. God bless you.